Everyone, this is a Board of Selectmen special meeting for the town of Woodbridge. It's Monday, March 27th, 2017. The first item on our agenda are funding requests. We have a couple of funding requests from the fire department, items that just came up recently, and then we have some follow-up items related to the Country Club of Woodbridge pool. So we will start with funding request 1617-17. in the amount of $9,470. Tony, do you want to explain this, please?
Sure. This is from a hydrant damage. Most of it's from a hydrant that was damaged by a motor vehicle, but the driver left the scene, so we do not have an ability to recover that cost.
Any questions for Tony? If not, I'll make the motion that we approve funding request 1617-17 in the amount of $9,470. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion?
Where are we funding it from? I'm sorry, I didn't get my package.
Oh,
because I was out of town, so.
Oh, contingency. Yeah.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. The second is also from the fire department. It's funding request 1617-18 in the amount of $13,000. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll use it better. It's hard to hear anyway, I know. Sorry. This is funding request 1617-18 in the amount of $13,000.
This emergency request for funding to repair light tower on Rescue 1. Rescue 1 responds to most scenes probably, and the light tower is the source of light for scenes that are at night and is essential to the fire department for their response. So they just have to repair the light tower.
I guess they went to a scene, and I was at the fire commission the other night, and I guess they raised it up to use it for light, and then they had to drive it all the way back to the station in the elevated position because they couldn't get it to come down again, and then take it apart. So it was a pretty big mess.
Right.
Any questions for Tony? I'll make the motion to approve funding request 1617-18 in the amount of $13,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we turn to the Country Club of Woodbridge pool. As you recall, we approved some line item transfers for work to be done in order to open the pool this summer. And when those fund transfers were presented at the Board of Finance, the Board of Finance asked for some additional information before they made a decision about approving the fund transfers that were already before them. And so we have here some line item transfers to fund studies, really, at the pool. And there were three different categories that the Board of Finance asked about. The first was with respect to the Fountain Street pumps. We know that one has failed, and we wanted an assessment that they asked for of the second one. And Tony was able to find someone to do that assessment for a de minimis amount of money, and that's underway.
Correct.
At this moment, we didn't need to do a fund transfer for it. The second area is with respect to the tank that's on the property. The tank has been failing for some time. There have been issues about it, and the Board of Finance asked that it be assessed. So Tony has gotten an estimate for evaluation of the storage tank, and this would be line item transfer 1617-19 in the amount of $2,650. I think it might be helpful if we talk through all of them at once so that you can be thinking about each transfer in the context of what's coming up. So the $2,650 is for the tank. Then we have a proposed transfer of $4,800, and this is for an assessment of the mechanicals. It would be relevant to opening the pool this summer and, of course, going forward. And remember, these are for assessments, not for doing any work that would be identified. The next transfer is in the amount of $4,400, and that would be for a structural evaluation. The structural evaluation would take more time and might not be worthwhile at this point. It might require some further assessment once they get started. Also, in order to do the structural evaluation, it would be necessary to empty the pool, which would be another $4,600. And we did not even include in here the fund transfer of putting the water back in. So as I look at this, the tank needs evaluation whatever we do with the property. I think if we're going to have water there between the pump and the tank, it's worth taking a look at it. The mechanical inspection is something that is certainly important for this summer and will stand us in good stead if we go beyond this summer. And the other structural evaluation is something we might not want to do at this time because it's another almost $10,000 to get us to that point. So I don't know if you have questions about that generally or if you'd like to go through them one at a time.
Jeremy. So, the first question I have is, I'm trying to get a better understanding. I was at the Board of Finance meeting, the last meeting as well, and I'm trying to get a better idea of what they put as a condition of these evaluations. So this structural evaluation, the one that we're hoping not to have to do, is that the evaluation they considered pivotal to their funding? And it's one thing for us to say we fund it, but if they're gonna reject it because they need that structural evaluation, or does this board feel they don't need that structural evaluation? Because I don't wanna spin our wheels and spend extra money and then find out that without this structural evaluation, they're gonna reject the funding.
Or that it's time prohibitive, that if we do it, we can't
Right,
even be
it's
ready.
time prohibitive, you won't be ready if you extend the evaluations to structural.
It really seems very unlikely.
Right.
Do we have a feel maybe where the Board of Finance left
We-
it with this,
we-
in this regard?
We have not a commitment, but some preliminary discussions
Correct.
suggest to us that they will be okay with going ahead without that final piece. I can't say for sure, but if going ahead with it sort of delays things so much that we can't open anyway,
Right.
then we can't open
You
anyway.
would miss your timeline, right?
You know, none of this is set in stone, it's hard to know, and
So I don't even know why we're approving
We're here.
these, because I'm following up with Tony, because if we approve these, like what happened last time, we approved them, and now they're coming back to us because they had an independent idea of all of this, outside of what we approved, which I guess is fine. But following up Tony's point, wouldn't it be more expedient, given the time constraints, that finance said this is what we would approve and what we want to do, and send it to us? Because if we approve it,
And goes back
they may
to
not
them.
approve it.
yeah.
So what,
Well,
I'm kind of
timing-
lost on this process here.
Timing
This
is
is
the
our
issue.
second time around, isn't it?
If we could have had a joint meeting, I think that would have been ideal, but we couldn't arrange that. And I think based on our conversations with the chairman of the finance committee, we should go ahead, I would suggest we go ahead with the first ones, with the tank and the mechanicals. And if they come back with something else after that, we'll have to reconsider. It's- That's based on
And the first one, as far as the
Conversation.
water goes, I mean, I think we have to do it either way, because otherwise we could lose the access to water to the building, which then gets into the
right.
heating and keeping the building in
Right.
any shape. We
Right,
need
that's correct.
water.
Right,
We
the
need
pump and the
And the
tank,
yeah.
I think.
I'm just wondering why that wasn't brought up to us before. Because before, when we looked at this and we approved funding, we did the backwash, as I recall, and then, I'm gonna get them wrong, but there was 9,000 for sprinklers and things, right?
And the dry system.
But the
Yes.
point is, we were told certain things had to be done to open, and we approved those. And now I'm wondering why there's some thought that there's an issue with this pump. I'm not suggesting there isn't, I'm just wondering why that if we're now saying we need to do this anyway, why did we miss that the first
Well,
time?
we had the pump in the memo that you
We had
all
the pump
received.
and the tank
We
in
had
the
the
memo.
pump and the tank as potential problems that could
Yep.
come up. We had a higher risk thrill than the Board of
Than the Board of
Finance.
Finance, okay.
Not everybody agrees on
So-
every bit of this.
So we could have a higher risk,
Okay.
level this time too, because all this has to go back to Board of Finance anyway, right?
Right, what we do know is if we don't approve any of these, they're not approving it.
Right.
So if we want it to happen, we should at least do the ones that make sense to us and that
I
reason.
had some questions this morning that, over the weekend, that I was thinking about, and I sent Tony a memo, which I don't know if it's okay to talk about now, but
Sure.
quickly, because I was concerned about the timeline to complete all these required items, and I did watch the Board of Finance because I wasn't able to make it, and I was also concerned about the safety concerns that the Board of Finance brought up, ladders, lights, the fence around the pool, handicapped access, and then I was also concerned about possible future capital expenses for this, and Tony very nicely wrote back, and I don't know if you want to respond, or should I?
I could just respond.
Okay, because those are
and say
some of my concerns, and I
that
felt a lot better about voting for this once I got these questions
The
answered. So
timeline on
maybe
the-
that'll help us.
Sorry.
Sorry, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
the timeline on the work, the assessments to be completed is 2 weeks. So we'll have all the responses back on the assessments, on the various equipment, and the pumps in the tank by the 12th
Mhm.
of April.
So what does Recreation feel about this timeline? Any feedback from them?
That so far the recreation representative that I talked with thought that that was a timeline that they
okay.
can work with. Right.
Isn't Board of Finance and Recreation meeting tonight?
Yes,
Separately, but
correct,
meeting
separately,
tonight.
yes. And what was the second one?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The
Okay, safety concern you mentioned will be addressed
Right,
and
so
reported
there's-
by Ken.
There's a whole list of items which are listed in your transfer request that'll be examined, including all the safety issues and electrical and filtration pumps, heating, the pool heater, ADA accessibility, and a whole
Right.
list of items.
Draining, filtration,
Right.
valves, filter, all that.
It's a
Right.
myriad. I
I see
just
it.
wanted
Yeah.
to, have them all down there. And there is also, there's always a possibility of
So then there's
stuff,
there are the 3 items that.
infrastructure,
Right.
that could happen, and we
Yeah.
just have to, I'm willing to take the risk, because I think, I'll say it again, I still think it's important that we try to open this pool this year, so.
So the structural, the last one, the one that we, at this point, may not take on, with the structural assessment, I'm assuming that's more like a month timeline?
Correct. And after speaking with the structural engineer in the engineering firm, there's a limited, the information we'll get will not be complete, because you can't really tell until you really take the thing apart as to how. I mean, they didn't seem to think it would be worth
Taking
us
apart.
continuing with the limited amount you can do without destroying the actual pool and core samples and stuff like that.
So what would they be looking for? Because now I guess I'm a little intrigued as to why we feel there may be structural issues.
There may not be. That was just the Board of Finance's
Okay,
request.
so we're not
I have
on
no
notice
evidence to
that,
suggest that there's
other
anything
than I know
wrong.
that there's a little rebar
Correct.
peeking through.
There's no evidence to suggest that there's anything wrong at all.
Okay.
And -19 and -20 are being paid for by the recreation fund,
Right.
not
Correct.
contingency.
Correct.
All,
Which I think is an important
Right.
point,
Mhm.
Yep.
all of these would be correct,
Correct.
even if we went, okay.
Right.
but it sounds like we're only considering -19, -20 at the moment. Or at least I'm only considering -19 and -20 at the moment.
And, no, I was just gonna ask him, Tony, can you remind us again what's available in that fund?
In total,
Yeah.
about $70,000 to $80,000.
Okay.
I'm prepared to vote on
So, is there a motion to approve line item transfer 1617-19 in the amount of $2,650 for a comprehensive evaluation of the semi-buried water storage tank at the country club?
So
So, second.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve line item transfer 1617-20 in the amount of $4,800. And this is for the mechanical evaluation of the Country Club of Woodbridge pool.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Does anyone want to move on 1617-22? Anyone interested in that one?
Wait, did we go past 21?
And if we don't do 1617-22, we don't need 21. Anything else on that? Okay, all right. You
Great.
want to do that?
Yep, all
Thank
set.
you very
Thank you.
much.
Thanks, Tony.
The next item on the agenda is a request from Catherine Walters. She would like to hold the National Day of Prayer ceremony at the Veterans Monument. Last year, I know it was in room 16, it's generally been inside at the center building. And She doesn't say a particular entity that is asking for this. I'm not sure. Jerry, she didn't say what group it is.
No, she just said that she's the coordinator for this,
Mhm.
but I don't know what the group is.
So the National Day of Prayer, as I understand, is something that has been established and declared by Congress. It's recognized in the state of Connecticut. It's a non-denominational recognition, and thought it would be up to the board to grant permission for this or not.
She's done, I've been to these before, as I recall, and she's done it. My only concern is, what if it's raining? Does she need a spot to go to? Do we have to give her a backup as part of the motion?
She's
or?
praying for sunshine. I wouldn't worry
Part
about
of the
it.
prayer.
I think it's fine, I'm just, and does she require,
She didn't
When she was
ask for that.
indoors.
Maybe they,
No,
She
she
didn't
might have
need-
already contacted Jim Franco. She might have done that backup on her own.
okay, does she
She
need
didn't speak to me
insurance or
about it.
anything to do this if, I don't even know if she did it in a building, but now that she's out at the green, I don't know.
do you think
No,
she-
I don't
How long
know.
is the service? Is it a half hour, an hour?
Do we know anything?
It's quick.
I'm not sure
Well,
what she's
it was
doing.
You know,
fairly,
and
it was
it's
less than, certainly less than an hour.
Yeah, it's
Ellen and I
quick.
attended one or two, and
Yeah,
it was less than an hour, it was room 16. Can I ask a question of Jerry? Jerry, is it, I think you are the one who would know this. Is it true that at one point they were holding this service outside in front of the
They
firehouse?
have held it out at one point, I think for 2 years, not necessarily consecutively. They were held on the triangle in front of the old firehouse.
So we're not setting precedent either.
You know, this is for May 4th, and if you would like more information, or if you'd like her to come and present, we could put it on the agenda for April 12th.
Well, do
People-
they have any lead time issues there?
Well, I'm thinking between
I don't know
April
if
12th and May 4th is probably the
Yeah.
time to get word out about it. I know.
Because
Yeah,
I would prefer to know a little bit
The
more
only ones that
about it.
I've been to a few of them, but to your, they're usually very short and
Mhm.
it's not a huge crowd. I mean, the
right. We
ones I've
fit in
been
room
to,
16 when I went to them, so
maybe
it
it's
was
25
tiny.
people, so it's
Yeah,
not.
I didn't go last
It's
year.
not like there are masses of people there, no pun intended. But I don't know the answer to the,
But if you'd be more comfortable hearing from them, I don't see a timing problem with that.
And if we do allow this, I'm assuming we're allowing it for off-base. This may be one particular group asking for it, but it is the National Day of Prayer, so I'm assuming if other interfaith type service wanted to
I
participate.
think it's not a faith
Right.
issue. It's,
I think it's, well, the ones I've been to were from one of our churches here in town. But I don't
Oh,
know
I
if
haven't
they,
been to
I don't, they
those.
may have included everyone, but no one else was there, you know, they did the presentation.
Hers, I think, were non-denominational, is that right?
Well, it should be.
That's
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
that's
sure
what we're
it
saying,
should
yeah, it
be.
should
Right, I don't
should
think
be.
there
Okay,
was.
well, I
Should
think
be
long as
open.
it's
All right,
non-denominational.
I guess
So
we
why don't
should
we have
probably.
them come back with a
Just
little
to be
bit
on
of
the
a
safe side.
program detail for us?
And telling us who's participating. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do that. Good, thank you. Okay, we're now at item 3 on the agenda, which is the reason we scheduled this meeting to begin with, and then, of course, we had other business to add to it. And this is a presentation by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Tony and I have met with representatives of the foundation who have an interesting concept and idea for the Country Club Woodbridge property. And
Can I go out there?
we thought it would be a good idea for the board to hear this early on so that the foundation knows if it's worth their while to think about this going forward. It would require a zoning change, and I know people have said they are opposed to any zoning change. I don't know if this kind of proposal might be considered differently, so I thought we should definitely hear it. And Pam Keogh's here, if you would introduce yourselves, and it's
Thank
yours.
you all, and I just want to say, this is my first town meeting, so bear with me, I've never been to one before, so this is my very, very first one, but.
So far, you're doing great.
Well, thank you. I'm the president and CEO of Make-A-Wish Connecticut, and today I brought with me Mark Haversack, who's on our board, so he's representing the voice of the board, and want you to know that, you know, the board is behind whatever we do. Joe Seapot, who is a volunteer and a talented architect and has been kind of looking at locations with us. And Jen Anaskovic, who among a lot of things is really a person who's helping us guide us through this process. So we put a few slides together. Really, I'd like to take you through them, but then just want to have an open conversation about, you know, this potential. But I didn't know the level of people, what they knew about Make-A-Wish, so wanted to just tell you a few things about us, and then we can have from that. So we are Make-A-Wish Connecticut. We're one of 62 chapters across the U.S., and we serve all kids in Connecticut and most of our donors from Connecticut. And we've been in Connecticut for 30 years. One of the misconceptions is we started out for terminal kids, where it's not terminal, it's actually kids with life-threatening medical conditions. But these are, very sick of the sick kids in Connecticut. And so that is, we're really trying to bring them some hope, strength, and joy when they need it most. And what we do is when they get a wish, it includes the entire family. So it's just not the kid, it's their siblings who are going through a lot, it's their parents. And I think that makes it special. And in fact, a lot of families tell me that, it really just brings them closer together because they haven't been close together in a long time. So that's what we do. Our vision is we want to reach every kid in Connecticut and make it magical and special. And this year we had granted 240 wishes. So unfortunately there's that many sick kids in Connecticut. And my hope is one day we don't have a job, but we know we do, and that number has been increasing over the years. And since we've been here for 30 years, we've granted over 2,600 wishes. So quite a bit of wishes we've done. We're proud of our brand and our reputation. Make-A-Wish nationally has been around 35 years, and we came around 5 years after they started in Arizona to one kid who wanted to be a state trooper. And it's a group just came together of people who heard about it, made their wish happen, and that's how Connecticut got started too. A group of people in New Fairfield, Connecticut, who got someone's kitchen table and said, "Let's start having bake sales and let's make some wishes come true." And 30 years later, we've really grown into a top brand, and that's something we're very proud about. Brand is very important. We wouldn't do things that would impact it. We don't do things with weapons and alcohol, and that's just, we have a very, very squeaky clean image that we want to keep, and very true to what we do. Why a wish? Kids come back to me now, it's 30 years later, and tell me that they still remember it like yesterday. It made them feel better. It made them, comply with some of their health protocols they no longer wanted to go to. It made them go into some of these fields, nonprofit, medicine, that they didn't. So it really does have an impact. And, it's just not, it's sometimes hard to understand what a wish is, but we really do want to impact the whole family and just make this kid come through something terrible that they're going through. So that's what it is. Our process is pretty easy. You refer a kid. It could be a parent, it could be the wish kid sometimes. A lot of times it's our two big hospitals, Connecticut Children's Medical Center and Yale, that actually refer probably 80% of the kids. And we determine if they meet our criteria, and once they do, we send some group of volunteers to figure out what their wish is to their home, typically. And one of the challenges right now is when you go to someone's home, sometimes they're embarrassed. They don't want us coming to their home. Sometimes it's actually dangerous for some of our volunteers to go. Sometimes they want to just get away from where they're, just laying around. So that's one of the reasons we are looking to build a wish house. Today we have an office that no kids come to, but that's our goal. And then once the doctor approves it and we grant their wish, it's just something that they remember it's in forever. So our process isn't that complicated, but it's it's the essence of what we do. All right, and so to make a wish magical, so we really talk about, it's that beginning process when they meet us. A couple of our chapters have these magical houses, and there's the crystal ballroom that the kids go to, and there's a shooting star, and when they go in, they put their star on the ceiling, and that's the magic touch that we don't have today. We just don't. We have an office building, like I said, that the kids don't come to. So it's getting their family involved in it. It's a place they could come back to in the future to revisit. Our New Jersey chapter has a teen center, they can come to and just hang out there if they want to. And it's also a place that I think the community could come and get involved with. We just had a wish in Windsor. 40 different vendors in the town of Windsor got together, and it was great, but we had no meeting place or nothing that we could go to that we could try to figure out what this wish is. So I think they did it I think they actually did it in the town hall mostly, but it was just something magical. And when towns come together, they really rally for these kids and their wishes. And these are all true wish kids, and this is cute Jenna here. We're getting close to all the wishes every year, but we really want to make it more magical and deeper. And so I think creating this experience, also in a consistent way, if we could have them come to our wish house, and it could just be consistent, because as you can imagine, I have volunteers going out to their homes. Some do it one way, and some do it really special, magical, and there's no way for us to really know and kind of keep that consistent. So that's what we want to do, and also a place where our volunteers can come to. We'd like to bring some donors to. We don't have the advantage of a Y or that they can come to and see what they do with the Y. No one can come to see what we do because they can't come to the kid's house. Unless they go to one of our events, maybe they get a little glimpse. But other than that, it's hard for them to understand what we do. Okay, so we're at the beginning of this. We want something that's a great fit. A great location is something key. And I've talked to my peers around the country and where they are. And some have wished that maybe they had it more centrally located. Something that involves, like I said, our board, it's our staff, it's our donors, it's our volunteers, it's everything. So we've been looking at several properties. And in fact, Jen was the one who said to me, have you looked at Woodbridge? And I'm like, I haven't. And so that really was interesting. And when we came here, do you ever have one of those moments where you come to a spot and you say, you know what, this is like, we've looked at a lot of places and I think this could work. So anyways, that's where, and we want to know, before we go further, like, you guys interested in us? We're not political people. At least I'm not in our group. We just want to know if this is of interest. Then maybe we could go, further with this. But we don't want to go any further until we have this conversation with you folks. And yeah, why Woodbridge? I mean, the location's great. Our families do need to get, in and off a highway. It's visible from the Merritt Parkway, which is incredible. The setting was beautiful. We really want to have something that is, open space. We would never want, condos going up next to us or anything like that. And, we would make sure it's just a beautiful community and a supportive community. Like we want a town that wants us to be there. And I think a lot of towns, like, we welcome volunteers and doing that. So we just want a place that wants us too. And it's not, we're in Trumbull today. It's not that they don't want us. They just don't have any property that would fit our needs. Plus, it's not as visible as what we would like. So here's what we're imagining, and I'll defer to Joe for some questions later. But really, like a campus, open field, handicap accessible. As you can imagine, a lot of our kids are challenged, so it has to be really easy to get into our building. They can't do stairs. Inspiring, magical, whimsical, all those things. Maybe kids can come back in the future. We do have staff. We have 15 people, and we have some volunteers that come in and do office work. In fact, a lot of those are seniors today that come in and help us with some of our office work. Possibly like a banquet room, but we're not sure. And we're open to talking. Our New Jersey chapter does have a facility that they allow different groups to come in and use it for no charge. The only request they have is that Make-A-Wish gets to speak for 10 minutes about what we do. And hopefully we'll find some new donors. We're thinking less than 15 acres. Near the Merritt, so that's the visible part that we would like. And Joe could talk more, but we're estimating the 18,000 to 30,000 square feet, depending on if we put this banquet, if we don't. I think all in, the magic wish would be 30, but depending on, what we also, money we raise would affect that. Parking, we thought you might have a question. On a daily basis, there's no more than 25 cars. Obviously, if we have a banquet room where people come, that could be more. But we really don't have, that many. And, with 240 wish kids, that's less than one kid a day coming in. So, and the current building, I just want to tell you, that wasn't an option for us. We really just think it's just too much to take on. And in fact, a lot of people in my position that have done this have gotten fired. So they always tell me, because they just bit off something more than they could chew. I think only one CEO survived building a building. So I just want to, that's why I've got like a support group and doing a ride and making sure, because that's not what I do. I don't build buildings or renovate anything, so, but we think renovation is just a little bit too much. So, this is, and Joe put some of the, markings around it, and maybe Joe, you wanna talk about it a little bit more, you can explain it?
So we've been out to the site, we've identified the area that I think we would be interested in. The larger square that says approximately 13 acres is, the existing building to the left and possibly then where the tennis courts are in the parking lot. It's all up for discussion now, but that seems to be the most buildable area. And then there's approximately an acre across the street, which is overflow parking, which would work out nicely for event parking in case they do the banquet room. It's a hilly site, so what we tried to look at is one, where the visibility to the Merritt Parkway might be, and two, where is the buildable area within there. So again, this is all for discussion, but like I said, we're just trying to highlight kind of where we would think the area that we'd be looking for. We're starting to now identify program areas, within the building as to what we may be looking at. We have administrative, but we also have the wish rooms. We're gonna have meeting rooms, boardroom, and then, some of the other possibilities might be a video editing room or and a lot of storage space because that seems to be always something we look for. So again, we're looking at a building that will be inspiring, creative, and something that they would, everybody wants to come to. Again, there's also alumni that be coming to the space along with the children and their parents. So just a little bit about the site.
Do you want to pause for any questions?
Yeah, maybe here, since we're at the site part, yeah, that might be good. You guys have it?
So what would you have planned for the 13-acre site?
I think the whole thing is.
The whole thing is 13.
Okay, at this point, okay. So
Yeah, 6 and 6. Just to show you how big, that area is. The existing building is purple on the lower one. But I think the whole idea is that it's an open campus field, so it has some land around it. As you can see, it's a relatively small sliver of the overall parcel. And it's just a number we've been talking about, so that if they wanted to have an outdoor function or, the kids wanted to go outside, there also is that availability to it.
And Joe, my memory of this is that that's a portion of the property that other developers weren't really very interested in, actually, that they were interested in the remainder of the portion. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except for a golf course.
Right.
Because that's the first hole. And probably part of the second. And probably part of the 17th and 16th. Yeah.
And parking. You talked earlier about you'd want to keep this with surroundings that were basically open fields, space. Would you be requesting to purchase that for, I'm assuming 14 acres, but asking for an easement, a conservation easement on the surrounding property? Or you're just saying that's your wish?
That's our wish.
That's your wish, but you're not asking us that we keep any part of it in any other.
No, and I think the idea of having the 15 acre, it allows us a buffer
Enough
for
to keep
if
it.
you wanted to develop it or anything that was on the option, but no, you wouldn't be any restrictions.
And the building itself is not, can you point to where your hope would be on that map?
That's what we haven't gotten into yet, is to where the best location and siting for the building would be. And would be the next step, but it would be within that.
But not necessarily where the building is now, you may be looking at.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
But you're looking at the acreage that you're looking at would include where the building is now.
It could
and then up
include
from
that.
there. But so it's the two red boxes, right? And then the
Yeah,
little red.
total of 13.
So there were the three different pieces.
Mhm.
Could I ask you a question? Is the pool part of this? It's hard for me to see. I had to go out there because I can't see far.
No, yeah,
The pool,
Looks like-
is,
I think that's one of the things, like, we're open to talking to you about. You could, keep that off to the side. We could, we don't really need a pool, but that's something that we're open to having discussion with you about.
But on your acreage, it looks like it cuts right through the pool.
Yeah, the way it's laid out now. But
And of course, it would be the
it's hard for
parking
me to
lot.
see
Yeah.
from back here, but I agree.
Yeah, it would also be the parking lot that would be using for
Yep.
the pool.
And I
tennis
think
courts.
part of the reason that we came today is for these kinds of questions, because I don't think, and you have a proposal today necessarily, but more just to begin to see what the town feels is important to be thinking about in that. Because you have a lot of land, much more than Make-A-Wish needs, so it's kind of.
Are you open to other pieces of the land, or is that specifically where you want to be?
Well,
How flexible are you?
visibility to the merit is important, because just to be honest, I have other places wanting to give us land, and it's not visible, so I could go to, for free land some other place.
Right.
So that would be the key. And I don't know what that visibility would look like, or what the signage is, something we could look at. But obviously I drew in University of New Haven when you go down the Merritt, and I'm like, wow, that's like really,
Right.
nice. But it would be, obviously, anything we do would be tasteful and, yeah.
So the answer is you want it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. What would you do? I mean, what's the concept of the building?
Princess?
So,
An office type building or something more?
something more magical is what and we don't have that figured out yet, what that really looks like. Definitely inside would be super magical, and the outside, I want people to know this is where Make-Wish is, we're proud to be here, we're proud to be in Woodbridge, and people should know this is where we are. We've been at 30 years in Trumbull, no one knows we're in Trumbull.
So Magic Kingdom, Princess Castle type something, where you catch your eye.
We'll be open to that. New Jersey office has a castle, we're not gonna copy them on a castle, they have one. It's pretty nice, and it's just but I think we just don't have that yet, and part of my due diligence is, as a CEO, is how we spend our money. We didn't want to spend any money on this yet until we have a place that would be interested in us, and then we would go forward and do the next phase of that.
It's not a 5-story high-rise.
No.
or anything
No.
like
Right,
that.
right.
It's a single, maybe 2-story in some portions with, the handicap accessibility for the kids, that we're not shuffling up and down elevators kind of thing.
And you mentioned New Jersey. Is that the only other one around the country similar to what you envision? And is there a way we could see that? Is there a website or something we could actually kind of get a
You
feel
could say
for
some
that?
stuff. The Utah chapter has something, the Dallas does, Florida's building one. Arizona has one, but honestly, theirs is a building on a golf course. It's a building, but it's not anything magical. So we could, send you some what others do, but we want to just make it our own too, and obviously make it more Connecticut-like,
Well,
New
yeah.
Jersey.
New Jersey's
we
New
have one-
Jersey.
yeah.
They're flat. They're flat, and that's it's another one. But they're pretty flashy and big, and we're more subtle than that. But, so
And actually, Karen, you might mention your board went down to look at New Jersey last week.
We did
and
last
had a
week.
reaction to it.
and then they our board went down and said, that seems a little too big and a little too flashy,
A little over the top.
a little over the top, and so but the board did go down, and in fact, what they've approved is to go forward with really trying to figure out wherever we build, how much money can we get donors to give us, and that's part of our next process, right? We have a board meeting next week. We'll have to report out. We have to talk to donors. So there's just a lot of steps that we have to do. But I think, one of the questions, we had today is what we're thinking consistent with your vision for Woodbridge. Are you willing to carve off a section, or do you want someone who's going to take the whole thing? Because obviously 150 acres is way too much for us. And then before we would commit spending money to do some of these studies, we would just want some type of assurance that at least we're in a period where we're kind of exclusive till we, with some option out there to purchase, because the last thing you want to do is spend money and then someone else comes in and then we've spent a lot of money, and I can't do that with donor money. So.
Right.
This entity would be nonprofit, right? So
It is. We're a 501c3.
So in terms of, first, I'm not sure you mentioned in your presentation about Make-A-Wish, but one of the things that impressed me when we met was I think you said that sometimes it's believed now that the Make-A-Wish, what the Make-A-Wish does actually improves the health outcomes for the children, which is quite
It does.
impressive.
We
I don't
have
think you mentioned that,
studies- Yes,
but
we have studies that we do make an impact in these children's lives, and in fact, families, I had one mom come to me recently and said, her and her husband were about to get a divorce because their 2 kids are very compromised, and we sent them to Atlantis, and she said, I can tell you that divorce is on hold. So that's pretty powerful in itself, but it does make an impact. I see it every day, and I see kids tell me that 30 years old, 20 years old, that what it did for them and their families.
so I think, it's hard to know exactly what next steps are, but one thing you would want to know is if this board feels that it would not support something like this, that we don't want to consider it. From a financial point of view, of course, it's a nonprofit, so we would not be taxed, but we would come to some kind of agreement about sale of the land, so we would have some benefit in that way. That's on the financial side, and I don't know the wishes of the board with respect to, this is a very new concept, certainly different from anything we had envisioned or talked about before. And so I don't know if anyone's prepared at this point to say how they feel about it, unless it's something like out of the question. If it's out of the question, you should know that now.
Right.
Or if anybody has anything else, any other triage level to talk about, or enthusiasm, or.
Go ahead. Well, I'm very impressed about your organization. First of all, if Jen is here, I know you're a good organization. we go a long way back. But my husband's on the board of Hole in the Wall, so we know exactly what Make-A-Wish is. But the town needs to know what its plan is for this thing, for this property. We have been going years in going through different, possibilities, and we've not really come down to it. But I have to tell you that not in spite of what you do, being a nonprofit, it will be difficult for this town. First of all, and then I don't know what the others feel, but it's a big piece of property, and to just give away the best part of the land is something the town needs to talk about, I think, and then we will come back to you.
So to Maria's point, my biggest concern is the prime area. It's the area you're talking about, a location on the property. I have other concerns, but the one that hits me first and hardest is the fact that it is the entranceway to the property. It is where the pool, tennis, and clubhouse are now. Regardless of what we decide to do, it certainly would take away those options for us. It's where our parking is. And it would affect if there was a golf option as well, because it does get into the golf area. So I'm not sure, given the location, if you're leaving us with the property greatly impacted and what the value of that property is for us to do further uses for it. I mean, if we decide as a board and as a town that we're going to use it as open space and recreational use, then something like that can be worked around. But it does affect us. The area you're talking about is most certainly my biggest concern. It would affect greatly the property.
I think a few things we'd be able to do is, one, work around the holes in the course with maybe some modification on the holes, but I think that would be doable. And one of the other options is taking care of the building for you, meaning it goes away. And I don't know if that's something you really want to undertake, is the maintenance or the upkeep of that building, but I think that's something we talked about, that as part of it, be able to take it. And I think if it's going to be used as open space, providing parking and an entry gateway into that open space is also something that I think would be on the table as far as when we develop that parcel. Because right now, then, people would, giving somebody, oh, this is where I park if I'm going to be going up and using the open space. So I think that's something would be all on the table.
When you say taking care of the building, are you saying removing
Demolish.
the current demolishing?
And we have an advantage in that we have a lot of relationships. One of the things we do is we do a lot of construction projects, whether it's to do a room makeover or a tree house. So I think we could end up doing something, that's economically probably better than what you could do it for. So we have that flexibility.
Just to talk about the nonprofit status, many towns or some towns have arrangements with nonprofits in their towns to get payments in lieu of taxes. Would you ever consider something like that on an ongoing basis for the town?
You know, that would be very difficult because one of the things my donors look at is our expenses, and that ratio means so much to us, so I would lose so many donors, and we're not that
Understood.
big, so that would be too hard for us.
So the offer is gonna be large, the offer for the purchase.
Try.
Joe, did you want to say something?
No, it's
Yeah.
just, so this is, well, the town owns it, but if he sold it, it's residential A, right?
Residential, we need to change the zone.
Saying.
Do we need to change the zone, or is this a permitted use?
No, it's an office space, basically. It's commercial.
Okay.
Anything else? So I had a very positive reaction to this. I think it's a great opportunity for the town, and I think Woodbridge residents, contrary to what Maria said, would be very supportive. In terms of keeping this property as a golf course, we haven't had any offer greater than $500,000 for it. Does anybody here know about any offers or anyone interested in the golf course?
No, but we haven't really, as far as I'm concerned, we
No.
haven't really marketed this.
Well, that's okay, but we haven't heard from
Very well.
anyone in, like, it's almost 10 years, who wants to buy the golf course. So I think it's a very worthwhile and important use of the property. And again, if we could work out something that is financially beneficial to the town, certainly this is a year when we're looking so closely at our budget. We understand, and I think more of our residents understand, that we should be looking at the revenue side. And although this is not ongoing revenue, it certainly could be an infusion of money at a time where it really makes a difference. We still have the $5 million there. So again, I personally don't think golf is a viable option. We certainly haven't seen that, and we can't wait forever. And I'm very appreciative that you've brought this to us. I understand you might have, timing is, yeah, Jen, did you want to say something?
I had one other thought, and you haven't asked this, but it's on my mind because I'm a development consultant. One thing that we have done is we've begun to speak to our top donor prospects, and there are a few who we've shared this possible location with, as well as the others that we've been talking to. And for a couple of donors, they know that property very well, and they're very excited about it. And to the extent that makes a difference to you, it's our sense that we'll put a donor team together that will be very compatible with the town. If that makes sense.
So just to follow up on what Ellen said, to be honest with you, I haven't heard any revenue yet, because obviously there's no taxes for us. I just kind of heard there'd be no real potential of a pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. So until I see an offer, I can't tell you that it is beneficial to the town, other than we love your organization, be nice to have that feel in town, but I've seen no revenue, no benefit.
Well, there won't be revenue.
Finance.
There
Well,
will not be
there won't be
ongoing
revenue. There
That's
needs to be a
clear.
sale price.
Well,
I've seen no offer.
Right, I think that's a good question.
I mean, we've seen no offer, we've talked no dollars, and bottom line, at this point, it's a good feeling project for sure. I think people would in town love to have your organization here. The question is, at what benefit and what loss? And again, I'm afraid of how breaking up that property, what the consequences would be. So maybe that can be worked out, and maybe after I see your offer, I'll be much more favorable. But at this point, I think I'm neutral to the idea.
I think that's why you're here, to know if it's worth further discussions about that. If the board feels it's not in the best interest of the town, there's no reason for Make-A-Wish to spend any more time or put any resources into it, or for us to have
I
continuing
would hate to go
discussion.
that far, for the reasons Tony just mentioned, and Make-A-Wish, I have good, favorable thoughts about that, and having them in town, but how, it's almost the proverbial catch-22, so how do we know to go, I would not say that I'm against this, right? I would like to have more discussions, but at some point, we'd have to get down to, because if you're gonna say that this is a financial benefit to the town, as Tony says,
We want to see.
I don't know that right now. What I do know is if it's, depending upon what that money is, we're giving up the 13 prime acres of that piece of property in terms of if we ever did come across a golf operation or whatever. We don't have a real plan for that property right now. I know we say that we're looking at open space, but in my mind, we don't really have a long-term plan there, and to give that acreage up before I could personally say it's a benefit to the town, there's gotta be a number attached to it.
Well, that's
So
true.
we could just
but it-
develop
but
that
the-
further, but I,
The
and I'm
board has to
happy
be
to
open
do
to
so,
the
but-
concept before we talk about
Right,
specifics,
if
right?
it's
That's-
dead in the water, then also thank you for your time, but if you're interested, then we would go back and undertake a feasibility study, spend some money, and be able to come back to you with more definite plans and then have a number. And, you know, for us, it's something that would be fair and equitable, and I would assume we would even maybe hire someone to help estimate what that is, unless you have a number in your mind today, you know, what 15 acres is worth. But we would do, you know, some fair appraisal, and that's what we would do.
I wish it were all that simple. It sounds to me, as is often the case whenever we talk about the sale of this land, perhaps we should meet in executive session at some point before we formally get back to the foundation and let them know whether we're interested or not. Can we do that?
Can we do
Well, you can, negotiations.
No, not tonight, I
No,
understand.
negotiations can be done in executive session. I'm not sure.
But what are
whether-
we negotiating?
Well,
You don't
I
have,
think the first,
Yeah,
I think
we
the
don't-
first thing you need to do is make some kind of a monetary offer and know the acreage, so then they can go into an executive session to discuss the
I'm not
negotiation.
adverse to it, but I feel like I don't have enough information. I'm sorry, it's just, you did
Yeah.
fine, but,
No, we understand.
Yeah,
I think
and-
that the purpose tonight was to, first of all, the easy, and such would be, if this board is not interested in going forward,
Right.
you needed to know that.
But I
If
don't
the
think
board-
that's the case.
I'm not
so
there.
we're
Okay.
I'm not there at
Okay.
all. I'm not
I
there.
wasn't sure, I think
Except
Maria
Maria.
is not interested,
Oh,
but
okay.
otherwise.
Well, no, I'm interested, but like I
Right.
said, I'm not willing to, you know, because of the nonprofit situation and the future of the land and taking on the best part of it when we really don't have any plan, you know, that I could accept as a plan. It's hard to say, but, you know, I want to see the offer.
And I think one quick last sort of thing just occurred to me that would be very valuable to Make-A-Wish would be to understand what your carrying cost is for that building every year, because to the extent that the offer will be made up of an offer to purchase, perhaps an offer to do the demolition, where there may be a financial benefit to the town that we haven't talked about is the cost savings. Should you have to hold on to that property for the next 10 years and employ someone to take care of it and to deal with the pieces that are falling apart, whether it's the pool or whether it's the building or whatever else. Is there someone in the finance department who could give us a sense of what the carrying cost is annually?
I could.
Mr. Goss.
That's right.
There's only one.
Is there someone?
There's only one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you feel you have enough to go on it? We'll get more information to Jen,
Well-
and if we can, I don't know, without a specific offer or even a general, you know, parameters, maybe we could have an executive session to talk more about it. Executive session is so that we can have a conversation that's not public, and so, you know, for negotiating purposes, the law allows us to think about the best interests of the town and how to go ahead with negotiations.
I think that sounds fair.
Yeah, so without spending a lot of money and, you know, just come up with some
Yeah.
kind of a offer.
And you guys, you know, let you guys you do this, be creative, whatever it is. We're happy to entertain whatever, but we do think we love Woodbridge, we love the property, and you know we're highly interested. At least I need to know.
Yeah, so one of the things that I felt some time pressure about, and I've been feeling that from you, is when you say you have other properties, you know, you kind of need to know if
I do,
Woodbridge is in the
yeah.
game, right? So
Right.
that's why we scheduled this tonight, and our next meeting is April 12th, so perhaps we can make some progress by then and have a discussion at that time.
Sure.
Where in New Jersey is the New Jersey one?
It's in Monroe Township.
I think I've passed it, actually.
Yeah,
That's
it-
why I'm asking the
yeah.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Can I just add, I think at least three of us mentioned the area, and so maybe when you come back to us, you can give us some ideas of if there can be adjustment to that map. I mean, we can give you adjustments, but I'll put you in a place that I'm sure you won't like. You know,
Right.
I would put you in the most favorable for the town. You're kind of taking the most favorable spot now. So maybe there's some, you could look at the maps and go take a look at the area again as far as visibility goes from the highway, that type of thing, and maybe that would help us along as well.
Tony, it's most favorable for what?
Well,
What reason?
right now, it's the only entranceway in. It's the prime real estate because it includes where we have the parking lots already, and they even want the parking lot across the street. So we would have no use for it as far as recreation use unless we started coming up with more parking and more entranceways. It would take the
So we can
pool, it
talk
would take
about
the
that.
tennis courts.
Because only 20.
And I believe where I see that map going up into the, which looks like the highest point there in the property, that certainly impedes on a few of the holes. So it gets
Yeah,
Gets
we'd
a
be
little
able to
tricky
work
for me.
around that. We'd have a more definitive
Good.
area, I think. Our initial conversations with civil engineers as far as what the best building area is, because we were just saying that we wouldn't take down the existing building and then move way in the back area
Right.
there too, so there's.
Yeah, the topography.
What would be advantage for you also?
Great, so that's if you
I would
can-
say
what you
however
can-
conceptually sophisticated you can get this without spending a lot of money would be helpful. Probably for both of us, to further the conversation.
I would agree with
Okay.
that.
Anything else?
Thank you.
If not, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for this, and thank you for what you do
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
Okay, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Hey, pretty good.
Aye.
All in favor?
Beth has got to run.
Beth didn't vote, we have